All right, so we still have to finish a couple examples from this section 4.2. So let's do those right now. Should have had this drawn beforehand, but that's okay. Let's see. Let's draw it like that. Let's copy and paste that, and let's go to transform. Let's go to this. Let's flip it horizontally. There we go. And, oops. All right. This is basically, it's like a little sketch of a roof. You ever go up in your attic? Do you have an attic? So you're not allowed up there, probably a good thing. So this is kind of like the trusses. You ever hear that word? Not trust as in with a T on the end, just a truss. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. So there's a little house, right? There's your roof. There's the walls. But if you ever go up inside your attic, you'll see a bunch of beams, right? A bunch of wood. And let's see if I can make this fairly accurate. You'll see a bunch of stuff up there. Those are trusses that keep your roof up, right? You just can't put a big old slab of whatever up there. You've got to have stuff to support it, right? And these are the support trusses, is what they call them. But we are going to look at them as triangles. And if you look up there, you'll see a ton of triangles. And they design them so that it gives maximum strength and make sure that your roof doesn't fall down on top of your head. So that's nice. So math is pretty important, all right? Because without it, then stuff would fall down on your head and it would be miserable, all right? So math is really important to be able to build buildings, be able to build anything. Anything that you do during the day, pretty much, there was math involved to get it done, all right? We won't say any more about that. So let's do this. It says if, that's a lot to draw just for this little example, but this is what they have in the book, so we'll write it down. So if UVW is congruent to triangle YXW, it says list all the corresponding parts. List the corresponding, I'll just shorten corresponding, is that all right? Parts. And it's probably not the best time to do that. Now let's take a look. Let's look at triangle UVW. Where is UVW? U, there's V, there's W. So if you want, let's do this. There's U. I'm just going to outline it just so we can see it a little bit easier. All right, so there's one triangle. And what did we say it was congruent to? YXW, correct? So let's trace this one out in a different color. Should be a little straighter, but you get the idea. It's good enough. So we want to list the corresponding parts. Okay, which parts are equal to each other? Well, let's go back to this. All right, so what's equal to each other here? It tells you right here that triangle UVW and triangle YXW are equal to each other, or congruent to each other, sorry. So let's do the angles first. So angle U, just without even looking at the picture, actually, you don't even need the picture whatsoever. You could just use this. We call this a congruent statement. Write that down. Congruence statement. That's what this thing is right there. All right, because we're going to talk about congruent statements later on. So that's a congruent statement. Just by looking at the congruent statement, we can tell which angles are equal to each other. So for instance, angle U must equal angle what over here? Look at it. Y. That's right. So that means that this angle right here must equal this angle right there. Remember, these triangles are congruent to each other. All right. So if we write it down correctly, which the book did, they wrote it down correctly, you can see which things are corresponding. So I could say that angle U is equal to angle what? Y. What else is going to be equal? V and X, that's right. So I could say angle V is equal to angle X. And let's just mark it right there. So V and X are equal to each other. Why did I put two little arcs here and only one here? So you know the difference. That's a good way of saying it. Okay, so you know the difference between which ones are equal to each other. Okay? And then, of course, what else would be equal? Yeah, W and W. So W on the pink triangle, W on the yellow triangle. So that means that's this angle right here and this angle right there. So we'll just call it angle W. I tell you what, instead of calling it angle W, because it's the, I could say angle W equals angle W, and you know what I'm talking about. But what do you think might be a better way to do it? Let's call it angle what? V, W, U. Let's do that. So angle V, W, U is equal to, over here, what are we going to call this one then? If I went V, W, U, what am I going to have to do over here? X, W, Y, right? If I go V, W, U, I'm going to have to go X, W, Y. Everybody see that? X, W, Y. Now it says list the corresponding parts. Well, how many parts do we have of a triangle? Do we just have 3 parts of a triangle? What are the other parts? I got the angles, and then what else do I have? Yeah, the sides, right. You got the sides, okay? So we got 3 sides, right? You got 3 angles, you got 3 sides. So how many parts are there to a triangle? 6. 3 sides, 3 angles. That's 6, okay? So now let's do the sides. So those are the angles. Let's do the sides now. And again, you could just look at this congruent statement. And that's the power of this congruent statement, is you can just look at this without even looking at the picture and know what sides match up with each other without even looking at the picture. All right, so let's do that. Let's do this. Let's do the first 2. So that's side UV would be equal to what? Just looking at the congruent statement over here. What would UV be equal to over here? Come on, it's not hard. Everybody should see this. It's YX. That's right. So it's YX. Look over here at the picture now. So UV and YX, do they look like they match up with each other? Yeah, absolutely. All right. These are just kind of flipped, right? Right. If I took this, watch my hands, okay? I don't know. It's like this, right? Right? And if I went, boom, that's what's happening. Would you agree? Yep. So if I just took this and moved it around to here, then these 2 would match up. These 2 down here would match up. All right? So that's what we have. So we have UV, and we'll call it YX. Since I went from U to V, I'm going to go from Y to X. But again, you can just look at your congruent statement and figure this out. What other pairings are we going to do? We did UV. What else do you want to do? Let's go U what? UW. All right? It doesn't matter what order you do it in, but UW. So if I go UW, what am I going to do over here on the second one? Call it what? YW. That's right. Call it YW. And then we got one more. What's the other one we haven't done? VW. That's right. So we got VW. And so VW would equal what over here? XW. Good. So that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Does that make sense? How they match up? And you could always come over here and do the same. All right. So what was the second one? UW, right? So that one, UW is equal to YW. And then VW, this one right here, it's kind of making this a mess, but that would equal this one right here. Okay? So that's what we got going on. All right, enough of that. Let's do one with some numbers, and then we can actually do some math, right? That's what we're here to do, right? Now it says, refer to example 1. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's just keep it right there. I'm not digging the pink and the yellow. It looks too sloppy. So let's get rid of it. Thought it would look nicer than that, but it's okay. And I'll tell you what. I'm going to just make this a little bit shorter. We don't really even need that. I tell you, I'm just going to get rid of that. We don't need it, do we? Boom. So there we go. That's our situation. So what we're going to do, example 2, that was example 1. This one is example 2, but it refers to example 1, all right? So we're going to use this picture, and then we're going to put some stuff. It says find x if the triangles are congruent, which they told you already, so I'm just going to rewrite it. U, V, W is congruent to YXW. Triangle YXW. All right, and they tell you some other things. So if, when they say if all this stuff is true, that means this is the stuff that they're telling you that's true about your picture. All right, so that's one thing that's true. They also tell you something else. They tell you that angle U is 22 degrees. They tell you one more thing. They tell you angle UWV is equal to 30 degrees. And you want to find, I'm sorry, I just put X here. That was dumb. Find angle X. Angle X. Everybody got that? So this is kind of messy. Sorry about that. It's kind of messy with all the tick marks and all that kind of stuff in there. But let's see what we can do. Maybe if I go to yellow, it might make it stand out a little bit. So you know the triangles are congruent, all right? And I tell you what, I will do this, though. Let's just do this, and we'll make it a little thicker, just to make it a little, so it's not as sloppy looking as what it was when I made it real thick. Like that. It's still off a little bit, but you get the idea. Oops. Let's get rid of that. Oh my goodness. I'm so picky. Sorry. Let's make that like that. There we go. Now I feel better. Just look. It was off a little bit, and I didn't like that. So let's do this one over here. And so there's that side, there's this side right there, and then there's this side right there. All right, that's good enough. Should have done that the first time. Let's see, what are we trying to find? We're trying to find angle X, correct? So we're trying to find this angle right here. Let's get rid of all this. Oops. Let's get rid of all this mess. Probably been quicker if I would have just drawn the thing from scratch. All right, sorry. It's a mess. And then we'll get rid of this stuff. Get rid of this. All right, that looks a little cleaner, doesn't it? You feel better now? I do. That's all that counts, right? All right, so what are we going to do? Let's put some stuff in here. This angle U is 22 degrees. So where is angle U? It's right there. So that's 22 degrees. Angle UWV, where's that? UWV, that's this one right here. That's 30 degrees. And the question says, find what? Angle X. Well, wait a minute. Angle X is way over here on this pink triangle, right? But what do you know about the two triangles, though? They're congruent to each other. So I could find, what do you think? I could find angle V, couldn't I? Why would I want to find angle V? They don't ask me to find angle V. Why would I want to find that? Because angle V equals what? Angle X. That's right. So even though they're asking me to find this angle right there, what I'm really doing is I'm finding angle V, and then that's my answer, right? So whatever V is, that's what X is going to be. Does that make sense? So that's really the only thing different about this compared to what we've done in the past, is you got two triangles, and you find one of the angles, the missing angles on this triangle. If they're congruent, then all those corresponding parts match up, right? Because remember we said angle V and angle X are equal to each other? So let's do that. So how do I find angle V? Add them up. So I got 30 and 22. What's that? 52. So is that angle 52? No, what is it? Or how do I find it? Sorry. That's right. You got to take that and take it away from 180. All right. So So what's that? 128, is that right? And that's angle V. So angle V equals 128 degrees. So if angle V is equal to 128 degrees, look at this. What's angle X going to be equal to? 128 degrees. That's right. So that's my answer. It's really pretty simple. If you think about it, you just have to know that the triangles are congruent. That means if this is 22, what else is 22 degrees? This angle right here. So this angle right here is going to be 22 degrees as well, isn't it? Okay. If this is 30 degrees, what's this going to be? 30 degrees. And then you could just take that away from 180. You get the same exact thing, right? No matter how you look at it, you still get 128 for that. Everybody good? Yeah, that was easy, wasn't it? All right, that's it for section 4.2. Okay, we did all the examples, and that's good. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at section 4.3. Let me get started on 4.3. It's actually not very long. It should be pretty quick and easy, but it's really important. When you talk about geometry, this is one of those things that people think about when they think about taking high school geometry. Is this next thing we're going to do. But we'll do that on the next video. So let me close this out, and we'll start another one.